The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Thanks for joining us. Good to have Greg Keagle back with us, our Major League Baseball pitcher.
Always a pleasure.
Pitching coach at RIT. And you guys coming off a pretty good season, right?
Yep. Made it back to the playoffs and hopefully continuing a trend.
Paul Gotham, PickandSplinters.com. What's on the site these days?
Baseball, more baseball. Red Wings, Interstate, Little American Legion baseball. Throw in some RIT once in a while.
All right, Pat Duffy, what do you got? What are you modeling this week?
This is the worst jersey and the worst free agent signing, maybe in NBA history altogether, the Gilbert Arenas Agent Zero Wizards alternate jersey that despised by absolutely everyone. Even the guy that designed it hates it. He disowned it.
How much you pay for it?
I think I got it for like $10 on eBay.
Very nice.
Gilbert Arenas can't say no.
Hey, let's talk baseball, obviously. I mean, you guys are both like knee-deep in it. The whole analytics thing, Greg, is like, I don't see where it's serving the baseball fan very well these days.
I think it is going a tad too far, and I was watching an interesting video clip on Miguel Cabrera was talking hitting, and he talked about launch angle as the new hot topic because of the success that Houston's having. And I know actually in RIT native Jeff Albert is the minor league pitching coordinator for the Astros, and he came back and worked with us, and that is big for them, is both pitch recognition, which I think is very good and is a big part of hitting. But then also they're big on this launch angle and getting the ball lifted. And Cabrera made a good point about balls that are high. How are you going to lift that ball? It's a pop-up, right? The only ball that you're really lifting is a pitch that's down. So, I do think that you can get too much into the analytics. And, of course, we won't get too far into the Tampa situation.
Yeah, well, I wanted to bring up between both you guys, the Tampa situation where they're starting relief pitchers because their starting staff is a little thin. That changes the game, doesn't it, Paul?
Well, not only does it change the game, but first of all, should we be modeling ourselves after Tampa right now, considering their record and what they have? When you start putting those analytics in, is it necessarily the analytics or the use of the analytics? I mean, Bill James.
But they are one and the same.
Well, Bill James had his abstract started in the 80s, right? And people have been reading those things since the 80s, but now it's everything in moderation can work, that old saying. And when we start taking that and making these wholesale changes with everything and going too far with it, I think that's where it affects the game, and it does have a negative impact.
I feel nerd alert coming on from behind me here.
You guys are all a bunch of nerds. But no, listen, the analytic thing does make me feel like less of a baseball fan because I don't understand any of it. I just like sitting back and watching the game. That being said, what Tampa is doing I kind of enjoy because when you look at it logically, it makes sense, right? Like you have a guy that's throwing smoke, getting the top of the lineup to start the game. Like you are guaranteeing you're getting the four best folks at the plate, right? And not only that, but you're not giving the top of the lineup the ability to time the pitcher out. So by the time a batter could get in their groove, you could be in the 6th, 7th inning, depending on how things go, and depending on how the score is the other way, maybe you've beaten the will to continue to play out of them. I think that you're right. Modeling yourself after Tampa right now is not a great idea. But if you were to enact this on a team that had talent, it could be more successful. And let's be real. When's the last time we had any major alteration for when it comes to how guys use their pitchers in a Major League Baseball game? It was just a matter of time before something revolutionary showed up again that gets used.
This comes from the whole, guys do better the third time around facing a pitcher, right? That's where it all grew from.
Absolutely. The more, Pat brings up a great point. The more that somebody gets the timing and the more they have an opportunity to see all the pitches from a starting pitcher or any pitcher, I guess. The moniker of a starting pitcher shouldn't necessarily determine his role on the team. And, the idea of Major League Baseball is you win every night, right? And so to get one out at a time to win every night, that makes championship baseball. And there's a reason they play 162 games. There's a reason it's a long season. But that win at all cost mentality is what championship baseball is about. So I don't know. Maybe you make a good point.
So where's it headed? The natural extension of having. I mean, we're going to see Chris Sale come in the fourth inning for the Sox. Is it going to be that kind of thing?
No, because I still think Chris Sale is the best pitcher on my team, and there's a lot of managers that would say a tired Chris Sale 3 times through the lineup is still better than a fresh guy out of the bullpen. So I think it deals with what you have, right? If my best talent is a reliever or a bullpen guy, shouldn't he face the best players on the other team so that we have better matchups? You know, I think that is more of it than we're going to change and revolutionize the game, and everybody's going to go back to that. There's definitely a need. Your 5 starting pitchers typically are your 5 best pitchers on the team, save 1 or 2 relievers. And they typically are great at throwing 1 or 2 pitches for 1 inning, but they could never last a whole season or a whole game for that matter if they had any type of length and use, because that velocity will go away if you're used too much.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We'll talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. This portion brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Pat, your favorite topic, Buffalo Bills. The whole Josh Allen thing, and when we see him and how much we see of him, I was thinking about something that the whole rookie contract, and maybe making a case for rushing him in there so that along the Goff and the Philadelphia Eagles model, that you're getting something while you can still build your team without paying a max contract.
I mean, I get that. It makes sense logically, but every rookie quarterback the Bills have had since Todd Collins, he was the last one they didn't do it, they've kind of used this idea. E.J. Manuel, they didn't plan on doing it, but they threw E.J. Manuel in year 1. He had to play, and I believe that time in system and confidence is more important than getting that 1-year value on the contract. And I get that, yes, you're going to have extra money to put free agents around a guy before you have to pay him that monster deal. But if you break him, which the Bills have done with starting quarterbacks, if you break that guy and he's not successful in any way because he was put in too soon, well, not only are you looking for free agents, you're also looking for another franchise quarterback.
Is Josh Allen unbreakable, do you think?
Well, I don't know if he's unbreakable or what, but the changes in the offensive line, certainly, right? Woods leaving, Incognito, whatever is there going on there. You have those question marks in the offensive line with a rookie quarterback. That doesn't set him up very well, does it? I mean, because in the NFL, we can look at Eli Manning. Eli Manning was a really good quarterback when he had a great offensive line. When they started making moves, he looked less than average.
But what's the perfect scenario? I mean, we'd always go back to Aaron Rodgers and how he was able to sit behind Brett Favre and said, look at how great he was. Would he have been great, do you think, if we just rushed him in? Like, is there a magic formula that works for guys?
I think each guy is individual, and I think that each situation is also individual. And Paul brings up a good point about the line and the strength of offensive line play and how that affects every part of your skill players on a football field. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't know that starting a rookie quarterback is a bad idea if he's talented enough to do it, but I don't think you rush him for contract. I don't think you can play the game based on money and dollars. I don't think it's any different than looking at analytics in baseball. It's still passion and skill.
When Mike and I like kind of took sides against you on this, where the both of us felt that the longer we can keep Josh Allen on the bench, the better it is for the Buffalo Bills, and you don't buy that.
Well, no, I mean, I'm fine with keeping Josh Allen on the bench. I mean, I think it is better. I don't know. Like, I don't think McDermott has a plan. I don't think Bean has a plan. I think they're going to stand back and let things present themselves the way they did. And to all of these people that believe in this, the process and we have a plan, I don't think they've had a plan the entire time. I think they've waited for stuff to come to them and they've made the right moves when it happens. So I don't think there's a plan yet to either play or not play Josh Allen because, look, he got snaps with the first team in minicamp. I know that it's minicamp, but if the kid can play and they're comfortable with him playing, play him. But like the guys said here, do not force him onto the field for the sake of saving $10 million in the last year.
Who's your opening quarterback, opening day?
Nate Peterman.
Who do you guys think?
I think Peterman as well.
Really?
I think Peterman threw some good balls last year, and I think, again, same thing with him. I think maybe there was some anxiety. He was kind of thrown into a situation. Tyrod wasn't a... He can't make certain plays in the NFL, but he wasn't a bad quarterback. So to come in and try to replace him, maybe there was some extra pressure. I don't know. Who knows what happens with Nate Peterman if it's his team and his opportunity.
Hold on, let's be clear here. I don't think Nate Peterman should be the starting quarterback on opening day. I think he will be the starting quarterback on opening day because for some reason McDermott and Bean are enamored with this kid, and I don't understand.
Who have you got, Paul?
I know I'm supposed to disagree with Pat sitting in this chair, and I know I have a responsibility, and I feel like lightning bolts. But no, I'm going with it because for the same reason, it's kind of you don't rush the kid, and not that Nate Peterman would be a starting quarterback anywhere else in the league, but with this situation, it works.
That's a radical about change.
No, I don't
about
think so.
faith.
Look, it's like we talked about before. A.J. McCarron was signed on the second day of free agency when everyone else was already taken, which tells me the Bills were going to be okay going into opening day with just Peterman as the starting quarterback, and if Allen's not ready, Peterman's the guy to go. Listen, they started him 2 games last year, the injury to Tyrod and the one where they benched him in a playoff race on a West Coast trip, his first game ever. They believe in the kid, and okay.
No, I'm going to go with McCarron, just to be different.
But be that guy.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. This portion brought to you by Condos and Ferris. Like it or not, next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, the fact that Bryce Harper's hitting down under 220 these days.
So it doesn't seem like too long ago we were all jumping off the bridge about Giancarlo Stanton and how he was struggling, and it seems like that has leveled off since then. When you look at Washington's lineup, there's not a whole lot of protection in that lineup for Harper. I mean, there's only one other guy, Adams, who has double-digit home runs. He's not a tremendous threat. I think if you look at it, the other day, they lose to the Yankees 4-2. He goes 0 for 4, 0 for 5 in that game, and the two guys behind him both went 2 for 4. And Trey Turner is not going to scare a lot of pitchers, so they're going to throw to Trey Turner before they throw to Harper. He's going to level off by the end of the year. They get some protection for him in the lineup, and that changes.
Is any of this playing for the contract, the pressure of playing for the big contract is getting to him at all?
I think it's the pressure of him wearing that Vegas Golden Knights jersey. Is it the contract? Also, he's a guy who's caught into the whole exit velocity and launch angle thing, and you wonder if at some point that all or nothing approach has to change for a guy like that.
Pat, like it or not, they're running out of beer in Moscow in the World Cup.
Whoa, they're running out of beer in Moscow. Surprise, surprise, surprise. What, did Alexander Ovechkin take a trip with the Stanley Cup over there for like 4 hours?
That's good.
I mean, come on, man. Like every major event they do in Russia, there is some massive problem. Kevin O'Klubja, who sits in that seat every once in a while, went over to when the Olympics were there last time, and it was just disaster after disaster after disaster. Okay. I'm Irish. I like to drink. The Russians like to drink. They have a major event and they're running out of alcohol. Like, this is like the least shocking story I've ever heard.
It's just a coincidence, too, by the way, that you get all the beer questions. Just a coincidence.
Well, like, you're a guy that doesn't enjoy alcohol every once in a while, Bill.
Greg, like it or not, how old are you?
I plead the fifth.
All right.
I don't like it.
I'll be 47 and...
Terrell Owens wants to continue to play pro football. He's 44. What do you think?
If a guy's talented enough to be on the field, the age is irrelevant. It really is. If I wouldn't give him maybe a 5-year deal, but if he's the best player on the field, what does age have to do with it at all?
Would you have said that at 23 when you were trying to make a major league roster?
If he was better than I was, yeah. Okay. I would have. Because I was one guy at that age that would have said I deserve to be there regardless of if I'm better than him, I don't care what his history did. Sure. I'm the guy that should play, right? At that point, fair is fair.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We're presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next.
Here is the MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Ice cream-inspired iced coffee is here at Dunkin' in the flavors you love. Cookie dough, pistachio, and butter pecan. What's your flavor? America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business. Brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Paul, start us off.
The big fundamental, Tim Duncan. As the Kawhi Leonard saga continues to unfold and kind of reach a pressure point here in the offseason, I can't help but think that we're overlooking the influence that Tim Duncan would have had in that locker room. Kawhi Leonard, of course, has a supposed thigh injury, that's going to force him to sit out the whole season. He's also talked about too much pressure that he's had taking on the lead role as being the top player for the Spurs. I can't help but think that if Tim Duncan was there in that locker room, he would be pulling him inside and saying, pressure? You want to know pressure? Pressure was when David Robinson retired, and we went on to win 3 more titles. You got an injury? That injury problem would have never made it out of the locker room if Tim Duncan was there. So we talked about analytics before. Mm-hmm. How do you measure locker room leadership? Because people were complaining about Tim Duncan in his last couple of years, saying his numbers don't equal his playing time.
Looks like there's a lot of NBA teams out there now that are grateful that he's not there because Kawhi looks destined to play for somebody else.
That's for sure.
Greg.
You know, there's always this talk about analytics and, whether that impacts the game and the importance of winning and where money comes in and how it affects contracts. And, the thing that makes sports great and the reason we have talk shows and we have a panel like this and we have discussion is the raw emotion that sports creates and the passion and the commitment and the skill that it takes to play at that very highest level. It's, watching a Tiger Woods fall backwards when he had his personal issues and seeing what guys would go through and sacrifices when I played and things that they would do to get that extra edge, the sandpaper in the pocket or the glue on the thumb, whatever it might have been that got him there. It's because of that thrill and that win at all cost mentality. And, as long as that excitement throughout the games, I think we'll always have some entertaining conversation.
There was a saying that got some mileage that said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's it to the extreme, don't you think?
I think so, but, again, when it's a win at all cost mentality, when it's win is what people remember, nobody ever remembers second place. That's the American way.
I found out something this week. Legitimately, I didn't know. The World Cup is a month long. It's a month long. It just keeps going over and over again. Listen, I've been watching social media a ton while the World Cup is going on. I've never been a soccer guy, but I want to be a part of it. Entire countries in town squares screaming, and little tiny restaurants in countries you never heard of going crazy when goals get scored. So I did my best. I sat down last weekend and I tried to watch the World Cup. And guys, guess what? I just can't do it. I don't like soccer. And it's not a knock on the game of soccer. It's just not for me. So I put out on social media that I had tried to do it, and it's just not for me. And lo and behold, here come all the soccer people. What do you mean you don't like soccer? Getting all mad. The one thing you don't do if you want to push a sport forward is tell people who aren't into that sport why they're wrong. Do not guilt me for not liking soccer. I never played the game. I played every other sport but soccer. I don't understand the rules. It's super corrupt, and I'm pretty sure that even the guys on the field don't really understand the rules. Enjoy your World Cup, have fun, but I'm not going to do it, all right? Leave me alone.
Mr. Do Talk Radio, there's two things close to your heart. If you needed calls, criticize soccer or criticize Aquinas.
Well, why would you do the second one?
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying to you.
Thanks, Pat. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business. Was brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Greg, good to have you back as always.
Always
Great
a pleasure.
insight.
Appreciate it.
Paul, keep up the good work. PickSplinters.com.
Thank you.
And Pat.
You're welcome, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week for the Rochester Press Box.